Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to the channel, and that channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. I'm excited, folks, for a couple of reasons. First of all, I had a great week at the office. Very productive. You know, sometimes it's like in golf, you hit the ball but you don't score. But sometimes you hit the ball and you do score. And at the office this week, it's been one of those weeks. So I'm happy about that. I've got a week of very charged next week, and I'll get to that in a few minutes after the introduction, that I want to just share with you, the viewers, the loyal viewers who take a look at this recap every week. And I've got a great show for you. I've got new stuff that's come in. It just keeps on coming in, folks. I think I'm spoiling you guys. Actually, I'm spoiling myself, right? And I'm going to have to slow down at one point because it's just a little too much, I realized. But, and I've got all kinds of pen purchases in my mind, and I just can't make up my mind, and maybe we'll review that in the Pens Revisited section. And so you can give me some advice on which choices I should pull. I got I got pen hauls to show you. I've got an accessory. I got a binder that I'm going to be using with some of that new paper that I just received, and I got some new Chinese inks that have come in as well. I've got an idea for my weapons for next week, which is kind of mirror the review that I have foreseen, or that I think I'm going to produce and publish for next week. So there you have it. Then we'll take a look at some YouTube reviews and market news, and that will complete the recap. So without any further ado, Fountain Pen Therapy presents its weekly recap for July the 19th, 2022. Oh, by the way, it's my birthday next week on top of that. So we got 3 major events next week, and I'll get into that on the reverse side. Enjoy the video. Okay, before we get to some market news, I wanted to share some personal news. First of all, next week is going to be a very, very, very special week. And let me explain. Yes, it's my birthday next week, July the 22nd. Big 69, folks. Big 69. So I'm going to be celebrating that. I'm not a great birthday guy. I don't. My wife always organizes the cake with the candles and the family. I know at the office, they always like to tease me, so they always kind of surprise me with something because they know I don't like that kind of stuff. But having said all of that, I think it's going to be an enjoyable week for a couple of more reasons. One, my eldest son, who, as you may know, lives in Portugal, is going to be joining us next week. He's flying down next week, and one of the principal reasons why he's flying down, in addition to seeing his parents, who I understand he misses very much, is that my youngest son, to our knowledge, but nobody else's knowledge, went to Italy, is visiting the Amalfitano coast, and right in front of the Fariglioni, off the island of Capri, he decided to propose to his girlfriend and future wife. the whole thing, presentation of the ring and all the rest of it. So she was quite surprised, needless to say. And you know what? We, in the meantime, because we knew it was coming, we kind of organized an engagement party for him here in Montreal. That's one of the reasons why my eldest is coming in from Portugal. Family maybe will be 50, 60, 70. She's got a big family. We've got some friends as well. We're going to have some music. We're going to have the tent outside, barbecue food, the bar, the whole thing. The whole thing. It's a special moment for my youngest. He just finished his medical degree, and he's finally a doctor, and he's done all of that. He's all set. He's ready to tie the knot, so to speak. So next week is going to be a fun week. And in addition to that, given that my son's in town, we're going to take a couple of days off and play some golf with my eldest and my brother, who's a golf fanatic, and my nephew as well. So all in all, it's going to be a family week, folks. So I'm not sure pens are going to be in the picture, and what time will I have to do what I need to do. But rest assured that I've got so many, done videos that are just waiting to be published that it's going to happen. But just forewarning, there may not be a recap next Sunday, just because we're going to be in the middle of preparation. The engagement party is Saturday. Friday, we're going to be, all hands on deck to get everything ready. So it may very well be that the recap will not happen next Sunday, which will be, July 19th plus 7, July 26th. But we'll replace that with a very interesting video, rest assured. So there you have it. That's on the personal side. So now let's take a look at some market news. After all, we're here for pens, paper, and ink. So what do we got for you, market news? Well, let's go to my computer and let's see. Okay, first segment, market news. What do we got for you? Not too much, but there's still some interesting offerings. So let's go to my computer and I'll show you what I've got for you. First of all, I just wanted to mention that this limited D6, it's not the Yongdian, it's the Angxion D6 with the steel nib, not the gold nib. I've seen this been going for 160, 170 Canadian. It's now down to 115. I actually thought I saw yesterday one vendor selling it at 103, so 103 Canadian. If you're interested and been hesitating to order that pen just because of the price, you may want to rethink it. Next, I also noticed that on AliExpress, they're selling the new Schaefer Legacy at very competitive prices. My only concern is, and I'm sure if I write to the seller, I'll probably get the answer, is that they don't appear to give me, what nib is included. Is it a fine? Or is it an extra fine, a fine or a medium? And I need to order a medium. They also say gold, 14 karat gold. I'm not sure how much 14 karat gold there is in any of this. But ignore that. You can either pick up the cheaper black model, or this is the cheaper at $225. You can get the gold, where is it? At $203. You can get the gold cap at $251, and the I think there's a total black version with that new material at $225. So I thought I'd mention that, and we'll revisit this question in my revisit section, by the way. Next, I see a new AdMock out. They call it the AdMock 631. It's offered in the Yowo fine nib or a long knife, 3 millimeters. So that's a huge one, okay? And it suspiciously looks like the Yongdian, but it appears to be an actual AdMock. At $82, I'm hesitating. However, I believe that Taobao, give me a second, we'll come back to that. But when I get to the Taobao, it's actually next. So $82 for the Yowo. If you get the long knife, it's $114. I'm not sure. Wood pen. So, not everybody likes wooden pens. If I do order it, I'm going to probably order this this blue version. What they call, what do they call it? Actually, it doesn't say, but the blue version is where I think I'm going to go. Now, in Taobao, I believe it's much cheaper, but I'm not sure it's the same pen. Shopping cart. Let me just get to it in a second. I thought I put it away. Yeah, here it is. This looks like what, because on Taobao they never have the same name, but this looks like that AdMock. And it's 140, which is, if I do the calculation, 140, well, sorry, 40 is $28 Canadian, not 82. And however, they don't offer it in that Yowo nib. But you know what? Who cares? I don't need a Yowo nib. I got tons of Yowo nibs. So I might order it from Taobao. It looks like it's cheaper. What else do I got in Taobao that's of interest? Let me just go back here. Yeah, there's this Tanguy. I think that's Tag Moon, essentially. Kind of a resin pen. It comes in two, either this gold brown, or the blue version. At $178, it's roughly $37 Canadian. I might go that. Their nibs are fairly good. So, anything else for you? Oh, take a look at this. These are handmade vermilion lacquered red. So they're lacquered feeds that go with the Yowo nib. I don't know if those feeds affect the nib at all, but let me tell you, they really look sharp. Little expensive at 224 Chinese, which is roughly $47 for the nib section. But, I thought I'd show that. It's offered in green, it's offered in blue, very sharp. I'm going to think about that one. What else have I got for you? Yeah, that same pen that we just talked about is at $351 yen, Chinese yen, and it's about half the price that we saw on AliExpress. It's $74. Not half the price, but, three quarters. So there you have it, plus shipping, eh? You've got to calculate the shipping. Okay, let's get out of Chinese. What have I got for you? That's the exchange. Okay, Goulet pens. This is the nicest picture of these new Lamy Safaris. I don't like this pen, gotta tell you. Lamy Safari, I've got a few. They've never really inspired me. I know they're functional. I know they're iconic. But I just don't write with them. I have them. I just don't write with them. But I know that several of you love these Lamy Safaris. So there's new pens out, which are, I think they called the Meteora and the Meteorite. Goulet pens also has, where is it? Yeah, this Conklin Durograph, which I think is really nice with that primary manipulation resin. And take a look at this. This is the Sailor 1911 with that sharp semi-transparent barrel. It's the casual basis or casual L model with the steel nib at 140. Guess that's where it's, Sailor's going. And we're going to be taking a look at, by the way, I think I've got all the Sailor and the Pilot steel nibs that have come out. So we're going to do kind of a comparison sometime shortly. So that's it for market news. I haven't been able to find anything. There's some new inks, but, too expensive to even worthy of mention. But there you have it, market news. Stay tuned for the next section. Okay, so we're back. What's new in the fountain pen therapy studios? As usual, I'd like to start with paper. And here is what's come in. Big package. Let me just go to my overhead camera and show you exactly what it is. Here it is. I recall mentioning this to you, but I'm not sure anymore. I think I even gave, I showed you where I bought it from. This was purchased from the Nyokyo site, that Japanese kind of a search engine. And it's, sorry for the noise, it's Tomoe River original paper, folks. Okay? And I bought quite a bit, but they're loose sheets. As you can see, I've got, what is it, 100 in here, I think? Well, there's a number 5. No, yeah, A5 100. So there's 100 sheets in both. And then I've got on the A4 side, I think I've got another 100 in each. Yeah, A4 100 as well. So we got 200 sheets A4 size and 200 sheets A5 size. And so that's the paper. Now I just want to test it. I want to just make sure that we are dealing with some decent paper. And I also purchased, in order to accommodate these loose sheets, because you'll remember that we also got some, this is the Krenna Star Rainbow paper that I received. And I believe this was Dion Singer, very kind viewer, that sent this to me. There's 100 sheets there as well. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, punch holes. Actually, the Krenna's already got holes punched. These, I've got a puncher that punches holes to accommodate the A5, the 6. And I bought this on Amazon. I really thought I was going to get a much better product. It's kind of plasticky, fake leather, but I think it's going to do the job, that way I can keep my sheets, because I'm getting I've received a lot of loose sheets, and I'm kind of losing track what is what. So we're going to put a kind of a divider to divide the Tomoe River from the Krenna. And that's it. Now, I've got another binder, a 6-hole or a six-hole binder, sort of with leather, that I ordered from AliExpress, I believe. We're going to kind of compare. This is Amazon. I think it cost me less than $20. Pretty cheap. I'm not pleasantly surprised at all. But you know what? It'll do the job. So there you have it. You can pick that up on Amazon or almost anywhere at any stationery store. So what I propose for you today is that we're going to do swatching on this Krenna, and we're going to do some swatching on this Tomoe River Original number 7 as well. We'll set it all up, and we'll be right back with the setup and with my inks that I have to propose for you for this week. There you have it. Okay, as far as the inks are concerned, so we're all set up. This is going to be the Tomoe River. This is the Krenna. The inks that I bought is these SHINSAN inks. They're available on AliExpress. They're a little more expensive on AliExpress than they are on Taobao. I know some of you don't have access to Taobao, which is unfortunate, or are having difficulty, getting the language translation to work, because on Taobao, these are $4 each, plus consolidation fees and shipping fees. You have to calculate it to see if it's worthwhile. I've already reviewed 3 inks, or perhaps even more, from SHINSAN. I've ordered 6 more. I find these inks to be really, really nice. Like Majohn inks, which are great. The Ongdian inks are so far the best Chinese inks that I've had the pleasure of using. There are others. There's Ostrich. And I find that these inks are really nice. So, and of course they come in, the pack is all beaten up, but it kind of mimics a little bit the Iroshizuku boxes and look. I have a couple here of the Iroshizuku. As you can see, they're somewhat imitation. They don't have the crevice here that you could put down your nib so that you can go all the way to the end. It doesn't provide that sort of thing, but they are 50 milliliter, just like the Iro Shizuko. So that's a good thing. So I have this Shinsan lapis, kind of a blue. I also have a jade here. Let me just pull that off. In fact, even the box is kind of designed in the same way, where there's a lip here that has to be lifted, and this is going to be the jade. And then I've got another kind of they call it kyanite. I'm not sure what kind of color this is going to work out to be. It's kind of a gray, black, blue. We shall see. Blue is kind of my favorite ink, so it kind of dominates my choices. And so these are the 3 inks I proposed for you this week. Let me get rid of these boxes so they're not in the way. I'm going to bring in my water with my tools. Put the inks there. Yeah, these Shinsan inks are really, really nice, I got to tell you. And for $4, okay, let's just, I forget what's shipping, and I shouldn't because I don't want to mislead you, but I think they were like $30-40 on AliExpress. But maybe, prices change. It also depends on some of the vendors try to gouge you for no reason. But okay, so I got my rag. I'm all set. Let's do some swatching. TOMOE River, Krenna. By the way, Krenna is, for me, going to be my favorite paper. I don't know how I'm going to replace, I didn't know how I was going to replace TOMOE River number 7, but I think I found a real winner, and I'm really, really enjoying that paper. So there you have it. Okay, so the first one is Lapis. Whoa. Wow, that's a nice blue. That is a real nice blue. It looks kind of a Konpeki-ish. Maybe even bluer than Konpeki. That is really, really nice. Okay, let's do some writing. Actually, while we're at it, and it's going to be subject to my pens revisited, why don't we use, where is it? Just bear with me a second. Where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Why don't we use the new Majohn N15? While we're at it, we might as well put it to good use. Okay? Here we go. So, this is SHINSAN. Lapis. SHINSAN. We're definitely dealing with TOMOE River original. I can tell right away. It has both Krenna and TOMOE River number 7 have a smooth coating, but that doesn't let the ink penetrate as quickly as you would want to. So the ink stays on the surface and it gives you thicker lines, wetter lines, without compromising the fluidity and the wetness and the thickness of the writing experience. It's just fabulous. That's I think I spelled lapis here wrong. There's no E. Okay, so that's lapis. Very nice. Very, very nice. I like this blue already. And one thing I noticed is, because I'm paying more attention to grain, the grain is going horizontal here and horizontal there, which kind of explains that this has probably been cut from an A-size sheet, cut in two, and then when you turn it around, the grains are going horizontally instead of normally you see them vertically. But what I've determined, and several of the viewers have kind of confirmed it to me, who are, who know these things and feel comfortable commenting on it, is that it should not affect the writing. I have kind of mixed feelings. I haven't quite decided yet. I'm still experimenting with it, but they're right so far as at least I haven't seen a major difference. Okay, so this one is kyanite. Yeah, it's kind of a dark grayish blue. Gray or even black blue, I should say. Yeah. With some gray blue overtones, but it's so this is SHINSAN. Yeah, it's coming down really dark. Kyanite. Whoa. Did you see that, folks? I just snapped the tip of that glass. They say glass pen, but I think it's plastic. So that's not good. That is kyanite, I think it is. The pen is now suddenly turned into a scratchy affair. So what I'm going to have to do is sand that down, and maybe it'll turn it into a kind of a broad. In fact, give me a second. Let me see what I can do with this pen, because right now it's a scratchy mess. Okay, I'm back. I used some micro mesh on it. I'm going to, do a better job later on, but right now I just want to do something quickly just to see if it worked. Yeah, so now this nib is turned into a juicy broad nib. Hey, maybe in hindsight, I prefer this. Certainly do. So it's plastic, so maybe you can play around with that nib a little bit better than you would if it was glass. I think it's plastic. They keep saying glass pen. I'm not sure. At one point I was tempted to put a lighter to it just to see if it melted. But then I said, what am I doing here? I'm going to, burn the nib. I said, you know what, even if I have to just get rid of it. But so that's that. Oh, I can't close this for some reason. I can't close this cap. Let me just put that aside for now. Okay, we've got the green, which is jade. Okay, here we go. Oh, this looks like a nice green. It was not as light as the bottle led you to believe. Oh, it's a little too watery for my taste. That's too bad. But maybe in a pen, it'll... Well, actually, on the Crenna, it comes down a little more watery and transparent. A little bit better on the TOMOE River. So far, anyway. Let me just maybe put a little bit more on the Crenna, just to see if it makes a difference. Here we go. I'll let it dry. And let's do the pen dip. Okay, so this is SHINSAN. And this is jade. Yeah, I kind of like this nib better now. Because if I'm going to use it for swatching, you want a thicker line just to test those inks. That's very nice. So, like my wife says, with every negative, there's a positive. Okay, there we go. That's it. That's the swatching of the three inks, folks. We'll let it dry, and we'll see what kind of final results we get. Okay, be right back. Okay, so we're back. The inks are fairly dry, although this Crenna has been going on for like 20 minutes. It still hasn't dried up on me. And you'll remember that I went over here, so this is kind of a little more wet. But you could see that this paper, yeah, this is definitely TOMOE River, number 7. I can feel the crinkly feel of the paper. You can see nice sheen on that kyanite. When it dries up really nicely. A little bit less on the lapis. Find there's a little more sheen on the Krenna paper. The green has yet to fully dry, even on the, I just realized, on the TOMOE River, but it's going to get me some red sheen there, so I like that. And from the writing, I can see the red outline on the writing. I don't know if you can see that, which is really, really nice. Of course, your typical TOMOE River ghosting, and there's some, the swatch will go through there. In terms of how the Krenna performed, again, crinkly-like feeling. That's why I say it's so similar. It's giving me the sheen. I like it. In the back, take a look. Apart from the scratch here, because the nib was scratchy, you get less ghosting than on TOMOE River on the Krenna, but you get the same feel in terms of writing experience. That's why I am so high, guys, on Krenna. And I got to tell you, I just went out and bought a bunch of those notebooks that I use, the diary, a bunch of paper, loose sheets, whatever I can get my hands on. But it's got to be Star Rainbow. Everything else is different. There's others. If it's not the Star Rainbow Krenna, that's not what I'm talking about. This one here is Star Rainbow. So try to pay attention to that. But there you have the comparison. Very nice inks. For $4 plus shipping, a real bargain, folks. If you can get your hands on them, go ahead. See what AliExpress is selling for, because it's much easier to go on the AliExpress. I'm going to try to put some links, if I can find them for you, in the description. Hopefully that will be, I will be able to do that. If I do, they will be there. And there you have it. SHINSAN, 3 more SHINSAN inks. Let's get ready for the next segment. Okay, so we're back for the pen haul. What kind of pens do I have for you? Well, this was expected, I think. We received these 2 new pens that have just come out. The Jinhao 59, which is, heavily inspired by the E95S. And I mentioned that the E95S, in my view, is a greatly overrated pen. I may be changing my mind, which is a good thing. We can always, evolve, so to speak. It's just that I get this impression. The impression stems from the first time I got that pen, and I wasn't impressed. But that's probably when I was in the era, or in my phase, the stub and broad phase, where I didn't like fine nibs or extra fine nibs. Extra fine I still don't like, with a few exceptions. But fine nibs wasn't my thing at all. I just didn't like how thin the thin line. I preferred the thick stub and broad lines, as you know. And so I think that's a lasting impression in my mind, that I wasn't impressed with the pen when I got it. But now that, things have evolved, I do appreciate more and more fine nibs. On the contrary, I always like a wet and juicy fine nib. And, being a Japanese pen, you're not getting that. But this thing might be the answer. Jinhao 59. I will be reviewing this pen probably on the weekend and publishing it next week. I think I'm going to do like a double. We'll do both while we're at it. I'm not sure yet. This is the Majohn, B23. I was under the impression that this would have looked a little more like this, just because when you see it in the picture, you kind of see it this way. And it kind of led me to believe that what we were getting was kind of a similar looking affair, but it's not. They're completely different. And from what I understand, the Majohn is inspired by a kind of a vintage Mont Blanc pen that doesn't exist anymore. But we'll take a look at it. The nibs are not, they're not inlaid nibs per se, but we shall get into them in detail. So far, I can tell you that I'm pleasantly surprised with this little guy. I haven't quite done too much writing with that one, but look, stay tuned next week, and we'll kind of do a detailed comparison. I would have loved to have been able to compare this one with the Mont Blanc, but I haven't been able to find one readily for sale. The vintage, I forget the number, but it's a number 9022 or I forget. But it is supposed to be a kind of an imitation of a Mont Blanc. There you have. So those are the two pens we received this week. We will review them and publish the review probably next Wednesday. Now, what else have I got for you? Well, I've got a special unboxing. I had planned another pen that I had received, but this pen just came in yesterday. So I figured, why not? Let me share with you what I received. I received this from Applebaum. Unlike others, I don't get free pens from them. I have to buy them. But they're a wonderful retailer, and that's okay. So that's the typical box you get with Applebaum. Always very nice. That is taped. So here we go. What's in here? Applebaum, thank you very much. Some advertising there. He always includes, these are great stuff, by the way. Not good for my sugar levels, but very nice. They're minis, so we're okay with that. And he always packages the pen boxes in kind of a European way. This is the way they do it in Europe, even at the store level. They're always a fun wrapping there. The Italians are really good at it, I can tell you that. Well, you know what? Let's just tear that. Okay, here we go. There's the wrapping. I thought it was a little bit substandard for them, but this is more like it. This knife doesn't cut. Come on. There we go. There we go. Okay. Okay, Vince, you're not going to keep the paper, so just tear it all up. Can you guys guess? Well, you should start seeing some of it. Anyway, I mentioned that I was getting this pen, and I got it. The Delta Glow. So I haven't seen it yet. This is the first time, of course. It was packaged, and I've never had the chance to see it live. Nice packaging so far. The Delta boxes kind of vary over time. This was the first time I received a pen in this kind of a box. But as you can see, always Nino Marino always has a great touch. There it is. Wow. Isn't that wonderful? Let me remove that from the paper sleeve. Wow, it's a lot bigger than I thought it would be. Take a look at that resin. And this 4-ring center band is a winner. I think he's hit it out of the park. Congratulations, Nino. I'm going to write to him about this and maybe do even a little short so he can use it on his Instagram account or Facebook account. Isn't that nice? Look at that. Wow, that is really nice. Much bigger, I think, than originally I anticipated. This is, my recollection, it's not a gold nib. Did I order a gold nib? I don't think so. No, that's the steel nib in that kind of a flex Yowo styled. Very nice. So I suspect that that's going to be a nice nib. Very different nib as well. There's some decorative design there I haven't seen before. What's fun is you can see the resin underneath the 4-ringed center band. Typical roller there. Very nice. Delta DV Glow Up. Oh, it's a glow up. So it's the Dolce Vita glow up with a number there. This is 348, Italy. Very nice. Very nice. And you know, if I would have written to Nino, he would have sent me this for free. And that's one of the reasons why I never write to him to ask questions, because the moment I ask a question, he sends me the pen, and it's just not fair. I don't want to abuse the situation. Is there anything underneath here? Let me just check. Yes, there is. Okay. Okay. Well, I get your standard. Is there anything else? No. Your booklet, I guess, that describes the pen, gives you some information with the guarantees and all the rest of it. So that's nice. That is very, very nice. So stay tuned. I will be doing a detailed review of that, but I just wanted to share with you kind of an unboxing preview. I guess these are all things I could do if I had membership, but you guys are lucky so far. I might be going to membership soon, just so that we could feed some of these purchases. You know what I mean. But I haven't quite decided yet. But there you have it, for all of you to glow at. The glow up from Delta. Be right back. We're going to do some writing. Now, all of these pens I have not inked, and I'm not going to ink, and I'm not going to write with, because they're all going to be subject of future reviews. But I've got other things planned for you, so we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back for the pens revisited. Well, a couple of pens that I want to revisit this week. It could be a little longer, just because I had no pens to write with for the pen haul, since they're all going to be reviewed. Let's take a look at this Majohn that I reviewed last week. First of all, you just saw the accident happen live with this nib. Now, I am convinced that this is not glass, but I may be wrong. Some of you who've maybe purchased this pen can maybe weigh in on that. Let me just I played around with the blue and the green, the SHINSAN shade. I'm curious because the color looks so nice and inviting, but it looked like it was a little too watery for my taste. But let's revisit that. So this is Krena paper, of course. Pens. Oh, now it comes down really nice. The ink, I mean. And so does this nib. Almost worth snapping it. And we're the 19th, 07, 2026. And this is the Majohn N15, and it's the dip nib. That is really nice. And the way I've done it, I think if I turn it around, I'll probably get a finer line. If I write with it this way, yeah. See, because I just micro-meshed one side of it, so you got to be careful. If I use the side, I get a thinner line. But it's still a little scratchy, but I got to work on that. Maybe we can do a double-sided nib with that. I'm not an expert on these things. I'm not Shaq MD. If you guys know who he is, this guy's going crazy. A good friend, good YouTuber, co-YouTuber in a community who's taken our community by the storm with his nibs that he that he does on his own at home. So, and he's a surgeon, from what I understand. So he does it just for the fun of it. Here you have the Majohn. This is the Majohn Flex nib on the other side. So let's look at the. I wanted to see if it dried up on me. It doesn't. One of the things with this flex nib, particular flex nib on this pen, is that it's very fine, finer than the others. And just a little more difficult to get that springiness going, you know. But that's okay because it gives me a finer line. So there you have it. Majohn N15 revisited. Doesn't appear to have any. Actually, I should clean that nib. It doesn't appear to have any issues with drying. I had not played around with that nib all week since my review, and the review was published and done last weekend. So it's 1 week has gone by and without use, and it's not dry, not yet anyway. The other pens I want to revisit is I am just having a ball with these three Jinhaos. I mean, these pens are just wow. I think my medium is the favorite of them all, but they've all impressed me. I like the size. I like the nibs. So this is the Jinhao. Look at that. Haven't used this is the extra fine, which doesn't write like an extra fine at all. So that's why I think I like them. Because I like a wetter nib. For those of you who don't, then you may not appreciate or necessarily go for this. As you can see, it's a thick extra fine. But juicy, smooth, writing experience. I like they're girthy, like 149s. I like the weight. I like the comfort. This is the fine in Volcano Red. Yeah, and this one writes like a medium. So again, that may not be a positive. It is for me, but for those of you who want to have a finer nib, buyer beware. Some people would argue that that's a Japanese medium, but smooth and just wet and wow. No spring, but still number 8 size nib, giant converter. I mean, a lot of things going with this pen. Yeah, and this is my favorite of them all. This is the Jinhao X169, and it's in the medium. This is even smoother because it's thicker. So for those of you who have not seen my video, take a look at it. I review at least 2 of these. This third one came in a little bit later, but there you have it. It's just, I like my camera's not focusing for some reason, but it's got a really nice resin. Nothing spectacular, not a lot of depth there, but just enough. Very classy looking pen. So I've got this in a special 3-pen case that I carry with me all the time, along with my weapons for next week. And sometimes I go outside and, on the balcony and poolside, and I want to do some writing. This is what I bring with me these days. These pens are just gorgeous, just gorgeous. Now, let's revisit something else. One of the decisions that I've been struggling with in terms of purchases, I have in my sights the Gravitas VAC 2.0. And I'm hesitating. It's It's about 350, if not more, maybe almost 400 Canadian. So, it's a lot of money. Do I really need the vac when I have the Monster? My Monster is an aluminum. Should I instead invest just a little more money and get the Monster in, I believe they offer it now in titanium? If I'm going to get the vac, I don't think I'm going to go for the black version that you see everybody reviewing. I think I'm going to go with the titanium, the silver. And I don't know if they have it in a matte finish and in a shiny finish. Probably the shiny finish I'll go with, and maybe with the Ultim barrel, So that's one of the things I've been struggling with. But the other is I've been taking a look at, and I've realized that I may have underestimated the new Schaefer Legacy that has come out. Several reviews lately have concluded that pen, it only comes now in fine and medium, and it's a steel nib, is a really, really nice pen, that they've done a great job, the new Indian owners. I understand that maybe a gold nib is in the works. So that's the thing. Do I wait for the gold nib? But I think the struggle there is it's about 300. If I go for you can get the simple black version, which is about 200 Canadian. By the way, I saw it on AliExpress, cheaper than anywhere else. $203 on AliExpress for the black finish, the simple finish, I think with a silver nib. But AliExpress doesn't tell me if it's a fine or a medium. I would want to go with the medium. Or $250, I think, for the there's one with a silver cap and a black barrel, and then of course you got the new one, the totally black barrel. That's even more expensive. So do I spend $250, $260 plus dollars on the Schaefer Legacy, or do I get the Gravitas Vac 2? And do I really need a Schaefer Legacy when, I have the real thing? The real thing being the authentic original. Now, did this have any ink? Let me just see. Yes, it does. Why would I get a modern steel version when I have is it 14 karat or 18 karat? No, 18 karat. And I purchased these, I think it cost me less on auction sites than what that steel brand new version is going for. Are we not better to, and there's plenty to go around. And, this is not a PFM version with the snorkel, which is very cumbersome and hard to maintain and all the rest of it. This is a cartridge converter situation. So you're getting the modern, modern version of modern filling system. Don't have to struggle with some of the older ones. And this pen is just, fabulous. The smoothness of this nib is outstanding. So do I really need, what am I doing here? Is it a snap? Yes, it is. And I got two of them. I've got this one. And I thought I had a Legacy 2, and somebody corrected me that it's not. Does this have ink? No, this might not have any more ink. Yeah, this was the one that didn't have the ink. But, in fact, why don't we put some of that, the lapis. Be right back. Yeah, I was saying this is the pen that I used for my ultimate alternative to Tomoe River Paper Challenge. It was one of the, whoa, Edson, very rare stub nib. Well, very rare. I understand it's rare. So juicy. Mind you, this is just brand, I just inked it. It's a bit too juicy. And this is the SHINSAN, by the way, kyanite. You know, I got this one. Do I really need a Sheaffer Legacy steel nib? And then, of course, we're going to talk about Waterman. We got this one, which is the Waterman Karen. Probably the least favorite of these so far. I don't think the nib is as juicy as the Legacies, and the obviously not as juicy as the Edson, but still a very nice nib. Originally disappointed in the fine nib, and then I switched it out for a medium nib. Probably not as juicy as the others, not as smooth. A little bit of feedback on this Karen. But again, have this pen. Do I really need the Sheaffer Legacy 2.0 steel? And then, if we're going to compare prices, this is the Lotus Titan that I reviewed not too long ago with this fabulous nib. Let me see if it still writes. Let me cap it. This is, actually, I still have room here. Let's not waste this precious Krena paper. This is the Lotus, this writes by itself, by the way, folks. Lotus Titan. If we're going to look at funny nibs, this thing is just spectacular. And I think I can get this Lotus, forget the price now, but I think we can get it on the website, even in different finishes, for less than that new Sheaffer. So the question is, folks, what do you recommend? Do I buy the Sheaffer Legacy steel nib? The new one? Do I wait for the gold nib? Or do I get myself the Gravitas VAC 2.0? Weigh in. Let me know. Okay, that's enough for Pens Revisited. Stay tuned for the next segment. Be right back. Okay, so we're back for weapons for next week. Well, all this talk about inlay nibs and, of course, those new offerings from Majohn, the B32 and the Jinhao 59, well, it got me to take a look at some of the pens that I have that I guess some of them are hooded nibs, some of them are inlaid nibs. And I have a sampling here of what I have in my collection, and I figured that would be my weapons for next week. So let me go to my overhead camera, show you what I've got. There's a sampling here. I've got some Wing Sungs, I got some Hero, I got some Parker, I've got some Aurora, so I've got a Sheaffer. Let's take a look at these one by one. Okay, Krena paper again. First one is a Hero 601, which will compare to the 601. This is, they call the 601? Yeah. We'll compare it to the 601A. As you can see, that's, I guess, what we call a hooded nib. So, why don't we weapons for next week. And you could see that this is the lapis ink, which is very, very nice. So this is the Hero 601, and it has the lapis SHINSAN. Nice nib, good flow, smooth, good size. You know, some of these other pens are very, very slim. This one is among the, I would say to you, the girthier, but still slim. Got that kind of Parker looking clip. Very nice metal. And what's nice about it, has, unlike some of the others, it has this kind of a filling system. So it's kind of a push. You push in and out, push in and out, and it sucks up the ink. Very nice. So that's the 601. But if we have to look at the 601, we have to look at the 601A. Is it this one? No, that's the 320. It's this one. This is the Hero. No, this is the Wingsung 601, I think, A, which I think it's got a special bobby nib on it. See that? That, I guess you would call an inlaid nib of sorts, okay? Or maybe there's another name for it. It kind of resembles the old Schaefer Triumph nibs, if I'm not mistaken, but some of you will correct me. But it's got this little ball. You see the little ball right at the top? Which writes beautifully. So this is the Wingsung. Yeah, just beautiful. 601A. And this has the SHINSAN lapis. No, kyanite. Really nice. One of my favorite from the 12 that I will be showing you. So very, very nice. Yeah, why don't we just go a little bit closer so you can appreciate the writing a little better. So, okay, so let me put this one here because we've done it. The next one is the Parker 25. There is a Majohn B25, which we'll look at in a second, but this is the original. Sometimes I wonder if the imitation is better than the original, but this is the Parker 25. The ink, by the way, is the SHINSAN Jade that we just took a look at. Very nice nib. Kind of more like a, well, I don't know if we call it kind of a safari, kind of a nib, but there you have it. Or maybe it's got its own unique, you know, it has that kind of lammy look, but not quite because it goes right around the feed. But you know what I mean. So that's the 25 original. Of course, I have the, not of course, but I have the Majohn B25. So this is the Parker, not the Parker, Majohn B25. And I don't know what ink is in here. All I can say is that it's been sitting for months and it's writing with no, you know, I didn't have to prime it at all. So that's good news. Now, if we, let's stick to Parker. This is the Parker 95 with that kind of nib. Okay, so this is the very thin Parker 95, sorry. Yeah, I have to post this pen to give it some weight, otherwise it feels very uncomfortable. Yeah, that's better. Very smooth nib, by the way. I think the ink here is the kyanite. With some of the older, or some of the remainder of whatever ink was in there before. I didn't wash it out, I just filled it up again. So it's a combination of whatever was there before and the kyanite, but the kyanite's coming out pretty well there. Then I have this little gem, which is the Targa Schaefer, and I asked viewers to tell me whether this is the regular one or the slim, and a viewer was kind enough to explain to me why he thinks it's the slim, so I've concluded that this is the slim version of the Targa, and there must be a thicker one, which I'm on the lookout for in some of the auction sites if I can find it. So this is the, wow, Schaefer Targa. This has a 14 karat and 18 karat nib. Yeah, I think this is 14K. But again, it's got that Schaefer inlaid nib, right? Just a smaller version. Ah, so smooth. Which I should have probably included in my pens revisited, because again, when you have this one or even the regular size, would you want to really buy the steel version? Next, what have I got for you? Let's switch pages here. Okay. Wow. Oh. This is the Wingsung 320. Now we're going to get into some of the more scratchier ones. This is, some are smoother than others, and this one's not bad. But you can hear the feedback. Wingsung, what did we say? 320. Again, hooded nib. Not as smooth as some of the others. Nice line. Fine. So precise, if you will. Light pen. Similar is this Wingsung. This is the 616S. And by the way, this has the SHINSAN jade. See the little skip there around the corners? Not as, there you go, you see? Again, a little bit scratchy and not the greatest writing experience. Then I have a Wingsung 565. Again, hooded nibs. Wingsung. This one's much juicier. Probably a bigger nib. And it's got, by the way, I'm having the same, it could be me, SHINSAN, and it's the Yamabudo imitation. It's the Sujolite. Okay. Runs a little bit thicker, probably medium-sized. Then we get into my Aurora. This is an Aurora vintage. I forget what they call this little pen. A kind of a funny-looking nib there, but still nice. So this is Aurora. And this pen I did not write with for months. I forget the real name of this, but it's a slim. And it's a vintage. They say vintage, but I believe they still sell them in different, perhaps looks a little different, but the model itself I think is still up for sale. Beautiful nib, as you can see. No skipping here. That's Aurora. And my favorite of them all is this Omas Vintage 88P, I believe they call it, or S? P. Yeah. So this is the Aurora 88P, and believe it or not, in that little hooded nib is some flex. It gives me flex. Take a look at it. You see that? I get line variation when I push it. Really nice. That's my favorite one of them all. It's a vintage. Purchased this in a little shop in Rome. Saw it in the window, made an offer, and there you have it. The 88P, probably the favorite one of them all when I take a look at them. So that's it for weapons for next week, folks. Thought I'd kind of maybe even a semi-revisit segment to just show off some of my hooded nib pens in my collection. There's others, but these are the ones I thought I'd go with for this week. So there you have it. We'll be right back with the next segment. Okay, so we're back for the last segment of this recap, which is YouTube review. What have I got for you? First of all, in terms of other reviewers, I have three videos that I enjoyed very much. Doodlebud reviewed this new brand, Italian brand, by the name of Sveva. I know they've been around, and I know that Paolo Spina, I believe it is, who's behind that, was, and probably still is, a very well-known YouTube reviewer in Italy, okay? And he decided to, start making pens. And I know he had a good relationship with Nino Marino, and I think Nino Marino may have helped him a little bit going along his challenge and his new venture. And Doodlebud reviews a pen that he received from Applebone by the name of Sveva Virtus Magnus. Very nice pen. He's I remember him way back when proposing that he send me this pen for review purposes, and he was going to give me, I think it was a 10% discount. Pen was really expensive, so I had to decline. But I know he's been hard at work, and it's an interesting pen, and I think he's got some interesting designs, and you know what? It reminded me that I should get one of his pens. So if you're interested, Doodlebud does a review, and I think he likes the pen. Fudafan reviewed the new Zento Signature multi-pen. You remember the Zento Signature went crazy. It was one of the most sought after ballpoint sort of pens in Japan. It was hard to get. I have now gathered 3 of them. Managed to get them through Niokyo at a reasonable price. Otherwise, if you go on Etsy, on eBay, you'll spend $150 for a $30 pen, and any retailer that's selling them at reasonable and ordinary prices, it's always sold out. But now they have a new one, and I think it's gonna, another craze is about to hit. So if you're into those type of pens, there you go. I think that's your next hunt, so to speak. Lastly, Mr. Inky Fingers reviews an Aurora 88. The Aurora 88 doesn't get enough credit. I know the Optima is very, very popular, but the 88 is just a beautiful, beautiful pen. Little expensive, but with Aurora you get an in-house nib, almost sure bet. It does have some issues once in a while, like every pen maker, but every time I see an Aurora pen, I'd like to encourage my viewers to get an Aurora. It may be your next Grail pen, in fact. So those are in terms of YouTube reviews. Those are the 3 I recommend. In terms of my own channel, well, you saw last week I published a review on the new Majohn N15. Nice pen, nothing spectacular, double nibbed. You've got that glass plastic dip pen on one side, but what's interesting is they put the flex nib on the other side and not an ordinary Moonman, so you get added value there. You just saw that my dip pen snapped, the tip snapped. In the end, I'm going to try to refine it. I think it's better. It's going to give me a bolder or a broader line. So, but there you have it. That's the N15. What have I got for you coming up? Well, you've got a series of videos I'm putting up on the screen that I've yet to publish, and some of these new Chinese pen has kind of taken over my plans in terms of scheduling, etc. And in fact, next week I may very well get into a review of those 2 new inset nib pens that we just got, both the Majohn and the Jinhao that we saw earlier. I may do one review for both and kind of do a comparison. I've been hunting for that Mont Blanc. It's the Mont Blanc 1246. I think that the Majohn B32, is it, that is trying to imitate. But let me tell you, if you go on eBay, it runs anywhere between $500 and $1,000. I'm going to, hunt for that 1246 in some of my auction sites that I often bid on, and see if I can find one. Then we can really do a proper comparison. But I think those 2 pens sit together. They came out at the same time, so I may very well publish a review this Wednesday on both of those pens. So there you have it, another recap, folks. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It's the summertime, and I know it's a little bit quieter. People are on vacation. Think about your traveling pens. Don't forget about your ink, your paper, and your fountain pens. It's fountain pen therapy, whether you're at home or away. So enjoy your summer holidays, and we'll see you sometime soon. Ciao.